All right, guys, welcome back to our last week where we discuss the Volunteer Playbook by Nick Blevins. I'm going to open us up in prayer, and then we are going to start our day. Oh, and I need to change my name because I am not Scott Franz. So hold on one second. My name is Jody. There we go. All right, let's pray. God, I thank you so much for who you are and all of the things you've done for us, Lord. We are so thankful for your blessings in our lives, for this call you've given us to this ministry, even through the hard times, the challenges. Lord, it's for those little moments where we see kids shine, where we see them just connect the dots and see your amazing stories just come to life, where they see your blessings, where they see your creation, your just amazingness. So, Lord, I pray as we prepare for this Sunday, Lord, we prepare these lessons, these crafts, these moments, so that kids come to see you and what amazing big God you are. Lord, I pray that um, if just one kid comes to know Jesus, Lord, all of this work was worth it. So, Lord, help us stay healthy, stay positive, stay energetic, stay encouraged, and Lord, just keep the enemy at bay. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, so let's dive into the last few sections here of the volunteer playbook. Um, and as we are discussing teenagers and frequency, increasing your volunteer commitment, and that's where we're going to start off today. What did you like? What didn't you like? What are you already doing that Nick may have mentioned? Share your thoughts, feelings. Ready, set, go. I have energy today.
I was just shaking my head when he was talking about asking volunteers to serve weekly. In our current situation, we asked our Sunday school teachers to serve twice a month. And that's about the best that we can get from our volunteers. There is no way I could have. I'm thinking through my list of volunteers, and I'm like, and I loved Kristen's comment, like, how bad is the burnout of your volunteers after they're serving for a whole year? I'm really curious to know.
I
Yeah,
think what I,
sorry,
I
you
think what I
go.
really, I think what I really struggled with that chapter is that it works really great if you have two services where they can still go to church if it works. Like to ask volunteers though, who maybe can only make your 10 o'clock service and they're like, well, I'll volunteer. I feel like you're discrediting their value and connecting with the rest of the body. Like it's almost like you're making your volunteer team separate from the church. Because now, like I have volunteers who serve year round. My Sunday school teachers do it from September till June. Gives me a bet. They're before the service.
Mm.
And they come back year after year. They love what they do, but they're not missing out on the church community. They're not missing out on connecting with people because it's pre-service and this is what they've decided to do. But I just like I could not imagine making all my volunteers. Yes, it's great if I would only need like 13 volunteers. It'd be awesome. But I don't think I would see 90% of my volunteers ever come back. Like I feel I just was like, this is really weird that you made this an entire chapter almost mandating that this is the next step, that it creates that buy-in. But I think you can have buy-in with people who aren't serving every single week, who are just as invested when they show up two times every 2 months, in opposed to, you can have the buy-in from a once a month. Um, yeah, that I just thought was a little much. Like that's like almost expecting them to be like unpaid staff at that point.
Because also, it's not just that they're now serving every week and having to prep, they also have to now go to the early or late service every week. So it's like instead of being at church an hour and a half a week and then once a month or once every 3 weeks, in our case, being there for maybe 3 hours to go to a service, attend a service, and serve a service. Now, every week, they have to be there for 3 hours so that they can attend one and go to one. But there's also, I mean, yeah, in a in a way it would be great because it's less of a headache with volunteers. But in another way, sometimes it's good to have more than one person doing the room because different children relate to different people. So you might find some of the children will relate really well to volunteer number one, but other children relate really well to volunteer number two. So I suppose there's positive and negative or good things and bad things about both ways that you do it.
I'm a bit shocked because like in our church, we've just always served weekly, whatever ministry you're in. It's just week in, week out, week in, week out. Um, so the concept of serving weekly, even as like volunteers, is not it's not foreign, or I'm not, yeah, because it's just something that we have done ever since I was a kid, and I've been going to the church since I was 6 years old. So I've been going for over 40 years. So I'm just kind of like, sorry, my voice. Yeah. And it happens not only in children's ministry, but across all the ministries in our church, even in the musos and all that stuff. It probably speaks to the size of, you know, our volunteer team. But it's, yeah, we're week in, week out with basically no break at all. So it's, this is how you guys will run? Like it's, you have a team and you just rotate every month or so? Is that
Mine is my team serves the entire month. So they serve weekly for the entire month. But then they're off the next month. So that's how our team my teams work. I have a few that only serve once a month, like in my baby toddlers, they're once a month, but the rest of my teams are um the entire month at that one service. And then they're off the next month. So they serve every week.
So is that like every other month you're serving for a month?
What do you mean every other volunteer?
No, so you said they serve 1 month on, 1 month off, so every other month you serve.
Hmm. Yep. So like I have, and so we have three services. So I have a crew for, 8:30 service, a crew for 10, and a crew for 11:30. And so I have to have, January has a team, February has a team, and then they rotate. So every other month is covered by those teams. And then what my point of that is, and the way I look at it, is the consistency of it of a face, the same face, the kids seeing the same face every week. So that's the way I describe it to my team. We want someone there, same face all the time. And the person, going into that position knows that's what's going to be required of them. It's not just surprised on them. That's part of what they're going to be signing up for, is serving for the entire month. Now, obviously, vacations happen, sick kids happen, sick people or pop up, surprise vacations happen, and we work with it. But we want them to try to serve the entire month.
We have three teams and they rotate. So team 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We used to do it that they would serve 3 weeks in a row and then be off for basically the rest of the term. But then the teachers felt that it was too long in between the children seeing them. So that's why we went to the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
We do. I have different expectations of different roles. Sunday school teachers, um, they serve for a year. All my teams serve September till June, and then I look for different volunteers in the summer. But my Sunday school does year round. They can co-teach. So if they're like, I can't commit to every Sunday, we pair them up with someone else and they co-teach, but you're committed to that group. My bridge leaders, so my preteen ministry is also a year-round commitment, but that's only every other week because we don't run any other weeks. And then children's church, I have 4 teams and they serve 2 weeks every 2 months. And that's the whole team. So whether you're in check-in desks, I just kind of put them according to ABCD, and then the D gets one, their schedule, and they get a year in advance so they know where they are all year. And then we adjust as necessary. So sometimes it means moving people around. I just recently added another helper to our K-1 room just because they were getting more consistent with being higher numbers. So we added an extra volunteer. And that was done because my leaders asked for that. They're like, we are like we run on 4 week, often a 4 week long unit. So every month they were starting or they were finishing the unit and they're like, we don't have a clue what they've learned. And so by switching it up that way, they were able to either they teach, sometimes they teach 2 weeks. Right now I have a teacher who's teaching, she taught the closing of the one and the start of the other. But yeah, and so it's kind of helped that way. I'm thinking about doing a volunteer survey and just seeing, is there some that would prefer to do like a 4 week long and then be done for a couple. Um, but I don't know. I don't know if I added or did 3 weeks, if I'd get rid of a team just to make it more or less, because you don't want that big long gap. Because the big part of what we believe is that we want our kids to know our teachers and our teachers to know our kids. And so that was the other thing is they're like, if I'm only on the first of every month, I miss like a chunk of kids who don't show up on the first. So
So we asked for a commitment from for our Sunday school teachers from September to May. And there's two-person teams for every classroom. Um, and they work out their own schedule, like who's teaching what Sundays, and we let them figure it out. Our kids' church team does year round except for major holidays. And um, I don't know how often they serve. It's maybe once every 4 weeks. It's funny because my pastor and I were just talking yesterday about volunteers and maybe a different way of looking at our Sunday school and how we run it. So this could be a work in progress and a change that might happen in the next year or two. So just thinking about it, but I don't know that I could ask. I don't think I would get a very positive response if I asked who's willing to teach every week for 9 months. I know my volunteers well enough to do that probably.
It took us a while to get to this model. I mean, Mary Lou, it was an uphill. I mean, when I took over, people were teaching once a month and bouncing all over. And um, we were once every 4 weeks, then people were doing 2 weeks, and then we transitioned to the month. So it takes, I mean, whatever model you choose, but I think, whatever you and your pastor decide, whatever your vision is, like this is why we want to do it, it's communicating the why, the importance behind it, whatever you think is going to benefit your ministry and the why behind it, and hoping they see that too and see the importance of it. That it's not just because you teach once and you check mark your box of serving in ministry. They see the importance of how it's going to benefit your kids in your ministry. And I know you know that, but just encouraging you for that.
I found parts of this chapter helpful. Like I thought that having like a 1 minute, 5 minute, and 30-minute vision was quite helpful, and like you could use that in other parts of life. What I didn't like about this chapter, and I don't know if I misunderstood it, because that's very possible, but it felt like he had made up his mind what he wanted to do, and even if his key leaders didn't agree with him, he was still going to do it. Because somewhere it says like be prepared to lose people. And I that's why I said I don't know if I read it wrong or misunderstood it, but that didn't sit well with me because surely you surely you want to do something and make sure that your at least your core leaders, if they've got some serious, you know, concerns about it, then isn't it maybe wiser to, I don't know, sit with it for longer? Is it wise to just go ahead anyway? I don't know. So that just unsettled me a little bit.
well, even as you're saying that, I just pulled up. I can't tell you a page. It's right above phase 5 where he's like, um, for those who can't commit to doing what you essentially want them to do. connect with them and talk about the next step. Is it stepping off the team, serving in other ministries, serving an assistant or sub role? Now you can talk about other roles that aren't weekly, like assistants or subs, but don't bring those up until after the big reveal. If you do, people will naturally choose what's easier, even if it's not what's best for the ministry or for themselves, which I thought was very interesting. It was kind of like, I've decided what's best for you. You're right. It does have a vibe of like, if you're going to do this, you get your 30%, which I think you can do anything with 30%. It just makes the uphill climb like you're not looking at, oh, in the next 5 years, you're probably looking at 10 years. We will get to a culture where it does have a bit of a manipulative, bullyish vibe.
Yeah, I think like I can, if the core leadership has decided, okay, this is the way we're going, then and then there are volunteers that aren't on board, then I can understand, okay, look, this is the way we're going, so you're in or out. But if your core leadership, it felt to me like he was saying, even if your core leadership don't agree with you, then they must decide either they're in or out. And to me, that's like a little bit scary. I don't know. It's, but I suppose it depends whether you've got a model where you are making all the decisions or whether it's a team leadership thing.
Do you say that's before or after phase five, Kristen?
It's like the paragraph right before phase five that he says that. I kind of wonder if maybe it's just he's using because he kind of uses very confident wording, like this is how it's going to work. It's going to work for you if you do it this way, kind of vibe. And I wonder if that's just why it's coming across. Because I was thinking, like, yes, the way he worded it does sound kind of like you're just going to manipulate them. Like, don't tell them there's other options. Don't even give them the option. They either do this or they don't. And it's like, well, there goes half my volunteers. And I'm like, okay, well, I won't do it. And then suddenly you bring out, oh, but wait, now we have subs and assistants. And it's like, okay. Um, but I wonder, like, because when I first started, about a year in, not even a year in, because I started mid-year, I ended up canceling our kids club program. And my leaders were like, this is important. They saw the value. But one of the things that I saw that was different, I didn't have like the core leadership team at that point. I just had like the elders, me, and then I had like leaders that were leading in the group. And they weren't for counseling. But in conversations with them, it kind of had sounded like they were like, well, there's no one else who's going to do it. And anytime I hear there's no one else who's going to do it, I'm like, you're not actually in this because you want to be. You're in it because you feel like you have to be. And so I made the decision to cancel for a year with the blessing of the elders. Like I went to them and I was like, this is where I'm at. I'm not sure 100% what the next step is because the last time I did this, it was really bad. Um, and so we canceled it, but I did it because of two things. Like, so the leader, the team that was leading with me didn't want it because this has always been done this way. But a lot of my parents were just showing up because, well, the church is offering it, so we're going to go to it, not because they saw value in it, not because it was achieving what we wanted to do. And so I made that decision as to what the next step was. And I brought some people along in the interim to be like, we're going to process what's next. But I wonder if maybe that's more what he's kind of like, if this is really what you feel your church is supposed to do, your leadership may look at it and like dig their heels in. Like we're all digging our heels in, being like, we're not going to do that. Sounds ridiculous. But maybe if you're really invested, that's what you do.
So if you go back to page 196, he does say, um, while there are exceptions, I would challenge you to think about moving to a weekly commitment for most schools. And then he lists them. And I don't see Sunday school teachers on that list. I see a nursery team, preschool, small group leaders who wouldn't necessarily be teaching the lesson, check-in, welcome, new here, hospitality, guest services. And I think I forgot about that while I was reading through the chapter. Um, so maybe he's talking more about those roles, but even with a nursery team, I mean, my goodness, having to serve every, like if you're asking somebody for a weekly commitment to serve in the nursery for an entire year every Sunday, wow, that's that's a big ask for them. And I get it. There's people that need weeks off and you work around it, but that's huge. That's a huge ask.
Yeah, my nursery team is not a weekly commitment. That is a rotational role because of that. Because that is that's intense.
I can see like I can see the value in that. And I know like I think because we like I have belonged to a church where but they didn't have everybody. So they had one person per preschool like per room. So they had nursery, preschool, and grade school was I think I don't know how their teams actually worked, but they actually would have one person in the room who was the consistent body. They called them the room lead and they would run lead for the entire month, not year, but I think they alternated between two or three people. But they were in charge for the entire, so that there was that consistent. Because I think that's a lot to ask. I don't know. You need to have at least two people in the nursery, minimum, depending on how many babies you have. And I get why that's important. They get consistency. Like I have kids who will react differently to different leaders, so I can get them in the nursery 2 Sundays, but then I can't the next two because whatever reason. But you have to really love babies, like really, really, really love them. And I think, yeah, I don't know that the whole team, but I could see being like a team lead. So you have one person who's in charge of nursery who shows up every week. Um, but yeah, yeah.
So for me, that would be my nursery coordinator. I do have one young mom who is a nursery coordinator. She handles the scheduling. She turns on the computers in the morning. She checks the news. The nurseries have everything that they need. But she's not in there every week, but she does serve every week in that she's there.
Any other thoughts on this chapter before we move on? All right, well, let's get on to student serving. Um, I feel like a lot of us have talked about this kind of already in the past. Some of us already have students who serve. I have a lot of students who serve. He talks about 25 to 35% of his team are students that serve. So let's hear from you guys. What do you think about this chapter? How many of you already have teens who serve on your teams? What capacity do you have teens that serve? Do you let them do leadership roles? Let's hear from you guys.
So
Yeah, I love her.
currently,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Teresa, go ahead.
It's okay. I love our teens. I work really hard to get them to serve. Um, some of them are just like, I don't do little kids, whatever. Okay, but um, they serve in a lot of different roles. They're in the preschool classroom as helpers. I have a couple that actually have helped for long enough that I've made them leaders in the younger kids' classrooms. I have large group leaders. I have one that actually just started helping with the check-in at the check-in desk on Sundays. And so yeah, I think it's great to work them in and, build up their leadership skills.
So if we have teams that help, the only area they help in is in nursery, and that ends up being mostly girls. Um, because we have one service and then they have youth group Sunday school at the same time we have adult and elementary kids Sunday school. Um, but our youth pastor has floated the idea that he would love to see the students serving on Sunday morning instead of attending a Sunday school class because he finds most teens are just exhausted on Sunday mornings and they don't want to sit through. It's hard for them to sit through another like sermon from him after they've already heard one in the main service. Um, so if there's a lot of conversation going on between us and our pastor about, what does this look like? If we revamp the way we do Sunday school, what does that look like? And I definitely have teens, especially the girls that like I would set them loose to just be in charge because they are so qualified. When they help with like a parents' night out or something like that, they will make decisions and take charge of situations if they need to. When we had our Valentine's date night, I had about 4 or 5 of them, and they were just coming up. So, Mrs. Manning, do you need help with anything? Or this happened, and this was on what I did, and this was like exactly what I would have done in the situation. So, I'm really excited about forming that team. I haven't come up with a name yet, and we still need to have our first meeting. But I probably have a dozen girls that are willing to help and be part of life. And I'm thinking kids' church could be a spot to really plug them in after I train them to be the assistants and they watch and then eventually they become the one who leads the lesson and who teaches the lesson and stuff like that. So I'm excited about getting them involved. I love the youth that we have in our church. They're great kids.
So I was just calculating how many adults I have that serve on my Sunday mornings. And this isn't like per Sunday, this is the total number of volunteers who run. I apparently have 54 who make up my Sunday morning team, and of that, only 19 are adults, um, and young adults. That also includes like our young adults in that. And so in our world, you start in grade 6. Well, actually, now you start in grade 4 or 5. You're my assistant. You go do my skits for me. You run PowerPoint in the classroom. You do whatever is kind of extra needed occasionally, especially with the girls. We'll pair them up with our 2-year-olds who are struggling, and they'll go in and just be their buddy only. So they're not there as an extra body. They're not actually a legit, part of the team, but they are there with that child to just make them feel safe. And they can go in as often as we need them. Sometimes they're older siblings with younger siblings. In grade 6, you can start serving and rooting kids as an actual team member. So you start out as the helper, usually nursery and our preschool ministry, because I have a very strong 3-year rule that it has to be between you and the youngest. And so they start there, they move their way up about 15. If you show potential to be a teacher, you start teacher training. So 14, 15, depending when your birthday falls. Like this year, I have 2 kids who are 15 like at the start of, so I think it's like November and January. And so so teacher training is where they spend the first 4 months or whatever it works out to be, like 2 times they serve as just literally just being there observing what the teacher does. They know they're going to teach eventually, but so they get to see the teacher teach, they can ask them questions, but they're also assisting and just being a helper. And then we do a co-teach where they teach half the lesson and the teacher teaches half the lesson, and they kind of give and take, and then they swap who does what. And then they teach themselves with the adult in the room being the helper and kind of just guiding them through. And then that is kind of their gateway. If they are confident enough, we give them a classroom with helpers. Otherwise, they do another year where they teach the year, but they have an adult. Is kind of how we transition them into teaching. If they don't have that, then they just usually keep serving as helpers. I will have occasionally, I think I have one adult who serves as a helper just because I wasn't quite confident in having them as a leader. But yeah, I would say a large portion. And then often they'll they'll serve with me until they leave or they have children, is usually how, occasionally they will leave me. I just, in grade 9, they'll often head off into the tech world. So if I lose them, that's usually where I lose them too. Otherwise, they try to make them work. But I have just found that if we can get our kids serving in 6th grade, they're more likely to serve in the church in 9th grade and doing the things that, because I don't know about you, I find that in our church, there often seems to be this, well, until they're in 9th grade, or 10th grade, we don't really trust them to do some of these things, or they don't have the capacity or whatever it is. And so I've just found that, like, when I look at the kids or the young adults who are serving now, I believe they all started in kids ministry Because it's often for the young guys, it's often just getting out of service. I don't actually want to be in service. I just want to get out. And so I'm like, that's great. You can go and you can serve. Or I have kids who skip Sunday school. They don't want to be in Sunday school with their siblings, or they just don't like it. So they serve as Sunday school helpers and eventually they teach. And I don't know. I think our kids are capable of doing a lot. And then we do some training with them, but it's the idea is to have a mentorship. So they're paired with the teacher for the full year. So you have the same team serves the same weeks, which helps to build those relationships. We got a little bit easy to work on that. It's still a newer progress in terms of this investment and saying, like, some of my teachers aren't confident enough to tell the youth, like, no, I need you to do this. So I'll walk in and be like, you can sit there and you can do that, and we're good to go.
So for us, we're in the building stage this year. Again, we just reset. Um, I don't know if you guys serve morning tea during your sessions, but we serve morning tea. So we give yeah, so we have to have food on hand ready for the kids to eat at a certain time because they just get really hungry. Our service starts at 10 and it seems like most of them don't have breakfast. I don't know what happens in the morning. They just come to church hungry. And so we have to feed them partway through. But anyway, I decided that I would start getting the year eights and year nines to do the morning teas in the morning. And in the morning, I mean coming to church, about an hour earlier. And they're with their families anyway because they're church kids. And so their families are often serving in the big church as well, in the music department, whatever and there's a communal prayer session that starts at 9:15. So, but they're serving in the kitchen and they're baking or whatever they're doing for morning tea. And what I didn't appreciate was when we were um, in our morning prayer session was when the pastor said there was such a buzz in the air just to see like movement happening around the church before the service, like with the children doing things and with the youth doing things, and they're doing things. So the youth and the kids and them were also sharing the kitchen. And so there was like this whole, and it was just like this atmosphere of just um, that things were happening and um, uh, the feeling of camaraderie and like, they're working in their quarters for for God. And it was really good to see. And they get exposure to just to um, the preparation that happens before church as well.
Um, our teens, uh, they're a phenomenal group. Like I've seen such growth, our teens in general over like the past 5 years and just their desire to serve. Just makes you super proud. It's like, mama bear moment. But anyways, like the way their desire to serve has just been super encouraging. Especially like my VBS over the past 2 years, they have just taken over. To the point where like this last year, my adults came to me and they're like, well, where do we serve? Because they took over so much, even like the leadership roles. Um, uh, so that's just been very exciting to see. Now on Sundays, they don't take over the leadership roles as much, and we've been trying to encourage them in doing that. They've been more like assistants. They assist in almost all my classrooms. Um, but my one Bible story leader and I, he's kind of taken charge in this, and it's been nice that someone else has. But he is really trying to take a couple under his wing in um, leading and guiding them to become the next Bible storytellers, to become the next small group leaders. Just showing them, hey, you were just under this, 5 years ago. You can now lead this, over the next couple of years. It's not intimidating. It's discussions. It's engaging with the kids that you just were a couple of years ago. And he's done really, really well at it. And I love how he's just partnering with them and encouraging them. But just for some reason, they just become shy on Sunday mornings when it comes to these leadership roles. And that's okay. We're working with them and encouraging them on it. But But in the summer, man, they just become on fire with the worship teams and leadership teams for VBS. I just think they love the excitement of VBS, but they just kind of have plugged in everywhere, and it's very encouraging to see it. So yeah, it's good to see our students serve and grow up within our church and stay connected.
How does it work for you guys legally? I think you're supposed to have two adults in the room. So does your teenage assistant count as one of the adults?
So our policy is written that we should have two adults, but if we can't have two adults, we have an adult and a teen. And they're not considered an adult, but there's two bodies in the room. And I hate using that terminology, but there are two older people in the room with the kids. Um, but we would like to have two adults in every room, but that doesn't apply.
Today, one of my teens who I've known since he was one, and went through our ministry and all that, and he's been teaching for the last 4 years. He let me know that he's changing churches. Oh, my heart. Oh, because these kids just, yeah, it's like Jody, you said, Mama Bear, it's like they become like your children, hey? So, he told me on Sunday, he said he was thinking about it, and I said, you can't go to one church and serve at another church. And he said, Auntie Lynette, I've been here my whole life and I just want to see what other churches are like. And I said, I understand, my boy, it's completely normal. But unfortunately, you're going to have to decide, thinking, oh, Jesus, please, please let him stay. But yeah, it's very sad.
We wrote our policy. So our policy says that there must be someone, I believe it's 16 years or older. And in Canada, you can drop out of school at 16. You can make all these choices. You're not considered a legal adult. You can start making those choices. You can get jobs. So when I think about like what are they capable of, they are capable of teaching Sunday school. We can trust them to work at McDonald's or to work in Walmart or wherever else we're going to put them. I think they can lead Sunday school class if that's where they're gifted. Not all 16-year-olds can do that. So we say that, and then we say they're two people. So grade 6 and up are allowed to serve as a person. But with that said, it's Sunday morning. So it's not like they're operating in an isolated space where if something happened, we need this grade 6 to get these kids out the door. Um, my ministry rooms kind of work together, and even we even have it in there that like if I am present in the space, so like Sunday morning we have one adult in a classroom because we just can't get the extras. They have open doors, we have windows on them, and then I check on them. But the number of kids, I can be included in the number of children that we have in that policy, even if I'm not actually teaching them or sitting with them, because I am there and I can make bodies leave the door. Because essentially that's what there's the protection policy. So they're not supposed to be like mother, daughter, husband, wife, just because one will cover for the other. But um, yeah, ours allows those 6 and up to be an extra person.
Yeah, we kind of follow the same. One adult and one teenager qualify as two people in a room. We let 16-year-olds babysit alone at home. So uh, they qualify as, as a person in the room. So we follow those rules as well.
But is it only from 16? Like, what if you've got a 13-year-old assistant that
No,
do
I
they
guess
qualify as a person?
no, I guess I do have that as well. I've got younger kids. I've got, usually a sixth or seventh grader that would help. But usually when I've got like a younger one, I try to pair up another adult. I try. But if I don't, I usually count a sixth or seventh grader as another person in the room. I mean, we have cameras in our rooms. We have windows everywhere. I mean, we've got security up the wazoo. Um, so
In Canada, you can babysit from age 12, which is sixth grade. So you can actually get, I think, your thing at 11. You can get your like, what is it called? Babysitter's course at 11. So we don't go beyond like, so what we were legally require, if your kid is allowed to babysit at 12, well, then they can be considered someone in the bed in the classroom. If you wouldn't trust them to watch your child, um, if you wouldn't trust them with kids, then they probably won't be in kids ministry in that capacity. But usually at that point, those kids don't want to be there anyway, or we have to, but yeah, if you can legally do something, then working with kids is not, and you're with an adult. So I think with that said, if someone's listening to this and that is not what's allowed in your state, in your country, that, you have to be 16 to babysit or whatever, I would go with that as to who is required and can be considered helpers, because I think that's important. If they legally can't do work with children on their own, they probably should not be working and considered one of the bodies.
And I know most churches have to go by whatever their insurance policies also state. So darn church policies.
So do your policies actually say things like must be like grade 8 or must be 18 plus, or is that like something they actually say?
Not ours that I know of, but I know some church policies are stringent on ages or number of people or uh, I don't know. There's some pretty strict policies and or safety, security policies, procedures out there that I've heard, but not that I know of mine specifically.
I believe where we are, it's if you write it, you have to follow it. So if you have a children's policy, you need to follow your children's policy. We actually had a case where it was involved something like a different ministry, but they looked at their kids' ministry and they're like, oh, they have these policies in place that they don't follow. And so then they were being sued, which is like in Canada, you don't normally like it takes a lot to sue somebody. Um, and the church ended up getting sued because they weren't following their kids' policy. It showed negligence in this other area that had nothing to do with kids, but it was whatever happened in that area. And it was really interesting. But yeah, we're held accountable to what we write in our policy or what policy we follow.
Any other thoughts on teens serving in kids ministry?
I have a question. So when you guys train your teams, um, do you like how do you get I'm wondering if you guys do any kind of like role playing. Like when you're training them how to interact with a younger child who's, you know, not not listening or whatever, like how do you um train them in like that certain kind of situation? Do you use role play or are there videos or are there other things that you do?
So are you talking about like helpers or like the teachers?
Sorry, Kristen, you were cutting out. I'm talking about like when you train your teens to help in your children's ministry. Because I'm thinking about what my training session would look like with my group that I'm putting together. Like talk to them about you're not there to just stand by the wall and observe. You need to get down and you need to engage with the kids. But what if your kid that you're engaged with starts like throwing a fit? Like, do you role play with them to kind of give them ideas of how to react in that situation, or do you use some kind of video training, or just talk it through from personal experience? Like, I'm just wondering if there's resources out there to kind of help.
I guess for us, we don't want like if the kid starts going off I don't want my younger kids, like I want them to step away. That's for the teacher. And then we do have a policy like, proximity and all that stuff. So what we usually focus on with our leader or helper training is I have them do like I want them to focus and what do you notice that could be done? So like noticing things like, oh, I can put chairs out. I can sit beside this kid who's talking. So if the kid's talking, that proximity, we talk about doing that. But if the kid they're playing with suddenly starts hucking things, um, outside of our natural response to say, well, hey, let's not do that, it's not their job to discipline or to stop that. Like that's what the leader in the room is for, because it can end really poorly. Kids under like, well, most young, especially grade 8, 6, 7, 8, their frontal cortex is so underdeveloped that they may just react on their own. And so I'd rather not put both kids in that situation. Um, so
When I do train my teens, like a lot of them start as assistants, so then I'll spend time telling them exactly what they have to do and what all the requirements are. And like my big thing is they're responsible for the basket with all the resources. And I want it packed in a certain way because it's like a plastic sleeve, and inside the plastic sleeve are other little Ziploc bags with different parts of the lesson in. And sometimes what the teachers do is they just chuck everything back in the basket because I understand it's busy and whatever. So the assistant is supposed to sort it all out and put everything back in the same place. So I will take the basket and demonstrate what not to do and what to do. Because I find that with the teenagers, if you can be as practical as possible, that does help. And then we also spend a lot of time talking about like how do you prepare for a Sunday and like but I do this with everyone, come physically prepared, come spiritually prepared, come emotionally prepared. This isn't your time. This we'll deal with whatever you're going through after church, but right now you're here for the children. It's more like stuff like that I go through with them.
Yeah, ours we just do, general training. You're there to assist the teacher, to support the teacher. So in those moments, if you ever have a kid, having a meltdown, you will occupy, support the other kids, keep them distracted over here, or if we're watching Topher time, keep their attention on Topher, re-engage with Topher. I would want the adult in the room, the leader of the room, to help the kid having the meltdown in the moment versus the kid with the meltdown. Or if the assistant, they're the ones who help the kids walk to the bathroom. They know if the kid is happening to have a meltdown or they need assistance in the bathroom. I do train them on, okay, if in those situations, that's when page the parent or something like that. But outside of that, I wouldn't want the responsibility of a meltdown to be on my teen or my assistant in the moment.
I would say though, if you do worship, teach them the songs. Like when I talk to my teens, I'm like, they're looking at you. And if you're not engaged, they're not going to engage. They're not going to do the actions. And I mean, to be fair, even if the teen is doing it, I have had a couple classes on the anomaly of like 4-year-olds who won't do action. It's so weird. And it's the most abnormal thing. You're in there, you're like jumping around, and they're like, okay, well, that's not cool. But if the teens, so that's kind of what we talk about, like you're setting the tone, you're setting the example. So get in there and play and I mean, I have some that take that to all ends and they have a wild time in there. And then I have others where you're like, okay, go play with this kid or go do this. But I think what I find with the teens often is that they need like in the moment. So you can role play all you want, but it really doesn't give you the greatest reaction. But if you like as their supervisor, if you want to call yourself that, if you pop into the classroom and you see like, oh, they're sitting on the sidelines, then be like, oh, you can go sit beside and then name the child, or you can go do this, or excuse me, why don't you have so and so? And I actually write in my lessons for my teachers, I'll be like, have your helper do this. Because sometimes, like even as adults, we struggle sometimes knowing, well, what can I tell them and what can I tell them? So when you're training them, but train them in like the fun things. Here's how you play this game. So you can play with the kids, but you play so you don't tackle them.
Any other thoughts as we wrap up here on our last chapter of our book? We made it to the end of another book.
And who did all the work? Who did all the playlists that he wrote?
The playlist?
All the all the suggestions that he had of what you need to do for each chapter. Who did it?
Not I.
I've done some of them, not
A
all of them yet.
lot.
Oh, so
I
many.
find like because this book is a procedure book, right? It's
Yeah.
like it's you have to commit a lot of it. It's not just the reading time. It's actually the thinking behind um yeah. It's the thinking time that's required that this book demands as well.
It's literally a class. Like it could be a class.
One of those things that'll just sit, and then suddenly in like 2 years, I'll be like, oh, I should do that right now. And it'll just come and it'll just sit there. And I won't remember which book it was that I even read it in, but I'll remember it was there.
I've tried to keep up with it by, each chapter, but then some of the stuff, like when I read the chapter on huddles, I thought, oh, this is a great idea. I'm going to sit and make a whole list of huddle stuff to talk about. And then when I got to it, I was like, no, actually, I'm not. I prefer to do it the way that I'm actually doing it. So yeah, but I have got a lot more stuff than I had before we started this book. So thanks, Jodie, for choosing this book.
You are very welcome, Lynette. I'm excited for our next book. I've got to post that tomorrow-ish. Our next book, what is it? Something with the word
Feeding
faithful.
Faith.
Thank
I've
you.
already bought it and I already used some of it in my workshop that I presented on Saturday.
There we go. Feeding
The
Faith, yes.
PhD.
So that's our
Yeah.
next one.
We
So,
might have somebody from we might have somebody who was on at the workshop on Saturday join our book club.
oh, nice.
Yeah, I don't know if she will, but she asked for all the details on that. So
Perfect. I'm excited to have more people join. That will be good. So, all right. Well, we can wrap up then for today. Um, Next week we'll be meeting the author. I hope y'all will be able to join us and those watching us be able to join next week as well. Hopefully we'll have some more questions to pick his brain with, or why'd you write it like that type of moments, or I don't know. Um, but yeah, it'll be a good run, good read. Um, Teresa, would you mind closing us in prayer for today?
I can do that. Oh, Heavenly Father, we just thank you again for this time. We thank you for the ideas, for talented people who can put ideas into books. We thank you for the discussion and the thoughts that were shared. And we just thank you for our ministries and the fact that we get to lead young lives and lead them to Jesus. And so we just ask that you would be with us as we lead our ministries, as we lead our teams, and just help us to continue to share your love in the best ways that we can. Keep us all safe and bring us back together again next week. And we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
There we go, to unmute myself. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.